Listening Fanfiction presents So This Could Be the Death of Me, or Maybe Just a Better Me, by Darker in the Day. Based off the Marvel Comics Moon Knight and the TV series. Narrated for you by Sierra Feast. Chapter 1, in which Marc Spector saves Stephen Grant. Stephen Grant wakes up in an unfamiliar warehouse, wrists and ankles tied securely to a wooden chair, and has all of 3 seconds to take in his sticky situation before he's promptly socked in the gut by a figure wearing a ski mask. Oh, shit! Stephen groans, curling in on himself as much as he strains aloud. What the hell was that for? Marc Spector, the man growls. He has an accent, one that's vaguely European. No! Stephen immediately announces, Not again, no, absolutely not. The man blinks. What's with the fucking accent? Bollocks, Marc! Come on! Stephen does a little wriggle in his chair because that's the first and only thing he can think of to get Marc to wake up! God, I hate it when this happens. Stephen interrupts him. You wouldn't happen to be familiar with the workings of a dissociative identity disorder, would you? Cut the shit, Spector. That's all the warning Stephen gets before his kidnapper throws a bucket of icy water over him, causing him to splutter and cough as some of it goes straight down his throat, the rest of it soaking into his clothes. Oi, what the hell? Stephen spits out an ice cube, the shivers already settling in. The bucket of ice water goes before the punch, shouldn't it? To wake me up and everything? You've got it all wrong, mate. Say one more fucking word, the man threatens, and I'll punch you in the face. So much, Toddy. It's not like Stephen can't handle this himself. Even without the armor, he's still perfectly familiar with hand-to-hand combat and a whole plethora of martial arts that Marc took the time to learn somewhere down the line. He just really doesn't want to do Marc's dirty work for him. Besides, he's still a pacifist at heart, believing he can talk this out. He reconsiders that peaceful mindset, though, as his kidnapper makes good on his promise and slugs him across the face. Stephen's head snaps sideways, his jaw aching with the impact, and he groans with the throbbing pain. Okay, why don't we... Stephen says slowly. Okay, why don't we... Stephen says slowly, as to not aggravate his jaw. Collectively chill the F out, and perhaps talk this out somehow. He gets another punch to the stomach for that. That line, so far, has had a 0% success rate with persistently painful consequences. He's still going to try it again one day. Marc Spector, his kidnapper repeats. We've established that you think that's my name. Stephen grumbles and then ducks just enough to avoid a slap. The other man pulls off his ski mask then, revealing pale scarred skin and a military buzz cut, thin lips twisted in a grin. Do you remember me? There's a gloating quality to this man's voice, and Stephen decidedly hates it. 2 years ago, Amsterdam. You ruined my entire operation in one night, but you made one mistake, Spector. You know what? You know what it was? This is a rhetorical question, isn't it? It was fucking... Absolutely not, Stephen interrupts. Marc's standards are higher than that. His head gets snapped back for that, a swift punch to his jaw, sending hot jolts of pain out in his face. He is definitely going to bruise. It's still kind of worth it. It was fucking me up and then leaving me alive. The man seethes, grabbing Stephen by his shoulders and leaning in close to stare him in the eyes. You should have killed me when you had the chance, Spector. Because now you're going to pay for what you did. Are you Swedish? Stephen asks, decidedly not giving him the satisfaction of having his threat sink in. Is that what your accent is? The man barks out an unpleasant laugh. You're just going to make me enjoy killing you more. Definitely. Oh my god, what are you doing? Put down the knife! Stephen says, all in a blur, as the man holds up a serrated blade. He squirms in his restraints as the weapon nears his face. To no avail. Listen, I'm doing you a favor right now. Alright, just let me go and you'll be fine. You can walk away unscathed. Doing me a favor. The man laughs. I'm not the one tied up to a chair right now, am I? No, you're not, and you admittedly make a great point, but... The knife flashes out, and a red hot line of pain is drawn on Stephen's face, right alongside his cheekbone. It hurts! And he cries out inadvertently as warmth trails down his skin. Fuck! Gonna stop mouthing off now? The man grins. I think a quick death is too good for you. Ever been waterboarded, Spector? Stephen glares at him, and his kidnapper takes that as defeat, a satisfied smile that Stephen wants badly to punch forming on his face. You're in for a treat. Don't go anywhere. He walks off, presumably to fetch the necessary supplies, chuckling at his own joke the entire way. Despite himself, despite how brave he wants to be, the front he wants to put up, Stephen feels the coiling dread of fear in his gut. As if that's a cue, a tense jolt rushes through him. In the reflection of a pooled puddle of ice water on the floor, he sees Marc's furious face staring up at him. Stephen, what the fuck are you doing? What the hell does it look like I'm doing? Stephen snaps. Having a jolly good time, kicking my feet back in the Bahamas. Marc narrows his eyes. Break free, Stephen. You know how. Well, what, and then run, so we can come after us again? I could talk this out with him, I know it! Yeah, really looks like you're having immense success with that so far. Marc groans. Why is pacifist Stephen back? Give me the body. No! You're going to kill him! He deserves it. I'm not enabling murder! Give me the fucking body, Stephen. Who are you talking to? His kidnapper's back, this time with a long hose and a wet rag. Stephen eyes them with apprehension. Fucking freak like you. Can't believe you got the jump on me. He won't bother you again. Stephen promises, his tongue thick in his mouth with fear. I promise. Let me go and we can both forget this ever happened. Oh, you won't bother me again, all right. I'll see to that. Without warning, the man covers Stephen's face with the rag and he hears the sound of water hose nearing him. Try not to pass out. Stephen! Marc yells, desperate and angry. Give me the body, damn it! Abandoning diplomacy and summoning his strength, Stephen rears his head back just enough to slam it into the man's face, feeling something crack satisfyingly with the impact. He shakes the rag off his face, heart pounding, body thrumming with adrenaline. Marc! The man shakes his head, still stumbling back, and growls. Oh, you're going to fucking regret. Before he can get another word out, Marc Spector leaps up and, still restrained to the chair, swings his body sideways with the momentum of his jump. The wooden chair splinters with the impact, and Marc's free, rope still hanging off his arms and ankles loosely. That doesn't stop him from forming a fist and slamming the man down into the concrete floor with a new darkening bruise around the bastard's eye. Axel! Marc spits, recognizing the face. Spectre! Axel gets out with equal malice. What's the stupid accent, did you? I'm usually pretty lax with people who try to beat me up, Marc says in a dangerous voice, ignoring the man's jab. He keeps one forearm pressed against Axel's throat, threatening to cut off his airflow at a moment's notice. It comes with the occupation, after all. Blah! Axel manages, as Marc leans into the hold. But this is different. With his free hand, Marc takes hold of the hose that Axel was planning to waterboard Stephen with. You know why? Axel, being in the middle of strangulation, fails to reply. No answer? Shame, really. It was kind of an easy one. Shrugging, Marc slams an elbow down, throwing his weight into it, and if Axel's nose wasn't broken before, it's probably irreparable now. Face full of blood and quickly going red with oxygen loss, the thug isn't in any place to even try and formulate a coherent response. One last try, Axel. If asked, Marc would say the look of pain and fear in Axel's expression doesn't fill him with a sort of twisted satisfaction. Marc would also very definitely be full of shit. Nothing? Too bad. Crimson drips from his face on Axel's, the cut on Marc's cheek throbbing as the adrenaline rush starts fading, and he can only imagine how unhinged he looks as he wipes the blood away with a thumb and laughs. This is different, Marc says with a slow, savage grin, blood on his lips and blood on his hands, because no one fucks with Stephen. You didn't kill him, right? Back in the safety of their flat, Stephen leans back against the dining table and winces as the bruises on his side throb. Because that blood took a while to wash off, and I'm not certain we'll be completely off the hook if a murder charge comes knocking. I didn't kill him, Marc says exasperatedly, though you should have let me. Neither of them know it yet, but it's on the news already. Head of human trafficking ring apprehended in Manchester. What's too long to fit in the headlines is the fact that the police found Axel passed out from strain, all bloodied and tied up with a water hose, with a note beside him detailing all his crimes. You were ready to kill him there, weren't you? Stephen asks, but there's no real judgment in his tone. It Is it morally gray of him to not recoil at the idea of murder? Maybe. But then again, he's not the same Stephen Grant from the gift shop that he was a few months ago. And maybe he deserves a little slack, a little loosening in his moral standards. Just as a treat. Mark is quiet for a second. Yeah, he finally admits. I was. A small smile tugs at Steve's lips as he leaves the dining table to approach the fish tank. I suppose I'm touched. He grabs the large bottle of fish feed and hunches over a little to greet their goldfish Gus 2 and Tawe Wet. Mark named his new fish after Layla's patron goddess, and it still makes Steven smile when he remembers how she couldn't stop breaking out into laughter when she heard about it. Hello there, friends. You hungry? Tapping some feed into the tank, Steven watches absent-mindedly as the two fish swim upwards to nibble at the flakes, darting close to the surface for the best picks as the rest of the flakes sink to the miniature doigt at the bottom of the tank. His eyelids feel incredibly heavy, but the bruises on his jaw and ribs still ache, and the cut on his cheek throbs, even with the layer of gauze he'd applied over it. Steven, you're exhausted. Mark's voice is rough, concerned. Go to sleep. No, I'm fine, just... Steven yawns. Fine. You just yawned in the middle of your sentence. Did not. Did do. Did not. Did. Steven. I was just kidnapped and told shit, Mark. What do you want from me? Steven snaps, slamming the bottle of fish feed back into place on the shelf and feeling immediately guilty as Gus 2 and Tawe Wet frantically swim in circles at the jolt. His chest feels heavy. It's hard to breathe. Breathe, buddy. In and out. Mark coaxes him through what Steven realizes is a small panic attack. Slowly, eventually, his breathing evens out. There we go. Sorry. Steven's voice is quiet, and there's tears prickling at the back of his eyes, and everything hurts. Sorry, I shouldn't have yelled. You saved me. Saved us. You could have saved yourself, Mark points out matter of fact. Still, you protected me. Still, thank you. A lot of words all stuck in his throat. Still, Mark agrees, and there's a lot of unsaid words in that one syllable too. Go to sleep, Steven. I'll keep watch. Nothing bad's going to happen, I promise, alright? Struggling with keeping his eyes open, Steven relents. Alright. Do you trust me? Mark asks, and Steven upset an indignant laugh. Of course not, you're kidding. He jokes, and Mark chuckles. Yeah, come on. Heading to bed now. Solving the Rubik's Cube is no longer a part of his nightly routine, but Steven still finds himself fiddling with it for the sake of the familiarity, even as the drowsy comfort of sleep threatens at the edge of his vision. He stares up at the ceiling, trying not to think about the feeling of the rag over his nose, the ache of the bruises on his body. Instead, he turns to a pleasant thought, one that plays over and over in his head in lieu of the tape he used to listen to, until his eyelids droop and the Rubik's Cube falls to the mattress. Nothing bad's going to happen, I promise, alright? He doesn't know what Mark's up to now, but there's no doubt he's there. Alert, awake, keeping watch. Do you trust me? With my life, Steven mumbles, turning over into his pillow. A few minutes later, Mark tugs the blanket up over them, and they stay that way the whole night, with Steven dozing peacefully, and Mark making good on his promise.